America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. I will continue to say every single day that Donald Trump's greatest legacy is the destruction of truth. More so than any damaging thing he's done, he's destroyed the whole notion of truth. So many Americans no longer care about truth, no longer care about the facts, no longer care about actual data. I suppose it was always going to be this way when we knowingly elected someone. And for all my MAGA folk listening, you love Trump for whatever reason. You love Trump because he's giving it to the man. He's sticking it to CNN and MSNBC. He's going after those libs. He's going after colleges and universities. He's not taking any crap. He's punching back. For whatever reason, MAGA, that you love him. And I know you do. You can't deny the fact that he's a pathological liar. For all the good you think he does, for all the good you think he's done, for all the straightening out of this country you think he's done, you can't deny that he lies all the time. I did a radio interview this morning with a friend of mine who's a big Trump supporter, and he's got his own show in Detroit morning radio. Great guy, John Anthony. Great guy. I helped him get his start in radio. Wonderful guy. I respect the hell out of him. He's a big Trumper, big MAGA guy. But I went on his show, and a lot of props for inviting me onto his show in Detroit this morning, because Fox News and a lot of right-wing radio talk show hosts no longer have me on, but John Anthony brought me on, even though we disagree. And we talked about this issue of Trump lying. And the best that John Anthony could say was, the furthest he would go was, well, Trump embellishes. Trump embellishes. And I said to John Anthony, you wouldn't say that about any other politician. You'd say Biden lied, Kamala lied, Obama lied, but Trump embellishes. I have found, because I engage with Trump supporters every single day, and I have for the past 7 years, ever since I turned against Trump, I have found that it's this issue of Trump lying all the time. Lying day and night, lying, rain, sun, or snow. It's this issue of Trump lying that his supporters have the most difficulty with trying to reconciling. They struggle with it. Take my word for it. They do. They tell me they do. There are plenty of Trump supporters who tell me still Trump never lies. There are plenty of Trump supporters who tell me, Joe, all politicians lie. There are plenty of Trump supporters who tell me Joe Biden lied more. There are plenty of Trump supporters who tell me, Joe, Trump has to lie to do blah, 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 blah. But they wrestle with it. And every Trump supporter deep down knows that Donald Trump's a pathological liar. They won't say it. Most every Trump supporter won't say that publicly, but they know it. And I know they know it because they tell me that. They will not say it publicly. But I guess we were always going to get here We've never, ever, ever faced anything like this as a nation. All politicians lie. All politicians fudge. All politicians bullshit. All politicians hedge. We've never been here before. We've never had a president who lies as he breathes. We've never had a president whose very MO, his strategy, if you will, is to lie. We've never had that. And most everybody has fucked up how they've handled it. The media has fucked it up. They've normalized Trump's lying. Because Trump lies 1,000 times a day, the media no longer calls him out on his lies. We saw that yesterday in that Washington, D.C. press conference. Trump announcing, threatening a potential federal takeover of Washington, D.C. Trump stood in front of the media for over an hour and he spewed 13,000 lies. But damn if the media never, ever, ever called him out on any of his lies. The entire premise of the press conference was a lie. There's an emergency in Washington, D.C. It's the most dangerous city on the planet. I got to get the feds in there to stop all the murder and the mayhem and the killing and the violence. That was Trump yesterday. It's all a lie. And again, MAGA, you may love the fact that Trump's a hard ass man and he's going to send the military into DC, man, to straighten out that city. It's all based on a lie. There's no emergency in Washington, D.C. There's no epidemic of violence in Washington, D.C. Not at all. Violent crime in Washington, D.C. is at a 30-year low by every single indicator. Crime, murder, everything is down, was down in 2024 compared to 2023. And it's down even further in 2025. Again, Donald Trump himself in February, my bad for not grabbing this, I think in March, got in front of the cameras and said, crime in DC is at a 25-year low. Trump himself said that in March, I think. His FBI director, Kash Patel, got in front of the cameras in April and said, thanks to Donald Trump's leadership, crime in DC is at a 25-year low. The head of the FBI said the same damn thing. Trump's entire press conference yesterday was based on a lie. How does a nation deal with that? How does a nation, how does a people, how does a free press deal with a president who is humanly dishonest? And again, I'll put this up here for everybody, MAGA included, the data, the facts, data. You remember, right, what data is. Keith, throw up those FBI numbers, will you? Thank you, my friend. The actual numbers, the data. MAGA, take a look at this. Actual FBI numbers for the year 2024, the last year that we've got FBI actual crime data on. Look at this. Washington, D.C. isn't even in the top 20 of violent cities in America. Not even in the top 20. And I'm sorry, everybody. I'm doing what Trump didn't do yesterday. I'm not trying to blow smoke up anybody's ass. I'm putting the facts in front of people. I'm putting the truth in front of people. Keep that up, Keith. Keep that chart up, Keith, because I want MAGA to look at it. Washington, D.C. is the 21st most violent city in America. And it's not even close. Memphis, baby, kicks ass. Memphis is the most violent city. Per 100,000 residents, 2,500 acts of violent crime last year. Memphis is violent and dangerous. Oakland, then Detroit, Little Rock, Baltimore, Cleveland, Kansas City, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Albuquerque, Minnesota comes in at what is that, like number 10 or 11 most violent cities in America, 1,100 acts of violent crime per 100,000 residents last year. Then you keep going down: Houston, Stockton, Nashville. Nashville's a violent city. Nashville's more violent. More violent crime occurs in Nashville than Washington, D.C. Tacoma, Washington, Toledo, Ohio, Anchorage, Alaska, Denver, Aurora, Colorado, Tulsa, Oklahoma. When is Trump going to send the troops to Tulsa, Oklahoma? Tulsa is more violent than Washington, D.C. And then there comes Washington, D.C., the 21st most violent city in America, per the FBI's crime statistics. 926 acts of violent crime in Washington, D.C. last year per 100,000 residents, and the rate is lower this year. That's not even close to Memphis. Why did Trump send troops into Washington, D.C. and not Memphis? Man, there's an outbreak of violent crime in Memphis and Oakland and Detroit and Little Rock. Baltimore's doing great, by the way. Baltimore's number 5, but their numbers are way, way down, but they're still number 5. You get my point. Keep that up, Keith. Thank you. When you look, and I'm going to go slowly, when you look at the facts, the data, the actual data, the crime statistics, Washington, D.C. is not in the top 20 of most violent cities in this country. And the President of the United States stood in front of you yesterday and said it was the most violent city in the world, on the planet. He lied to you. Not going to get in today because we know why he lied. We know why he did what he did. He doesn't want you thinking about the economy because it's doing bad. He doesn't want you to think about Epstein because he's all over those files. He's trying to distract you. And again, I say this, MAGA, from a place of love. Donald Trump thinks you're really super stupid, that he can so easily distract you with a piece of red meat like this. So he did it to distract. He also did it, though, because he's setting the stage. He's doing reconnaissance right now. He's like feeling the shit out because he's made clear, and he said it yesterday, we're going to look at Chicago and New York. Keep that chart up, Keith. We're going to look at Chicago and New York, maybe sending the National Guard and troops, the military, to Chicago and New York. Other cities, by the way, Chicago and New York, not even in the top 25 of most violent cities in America. But this is Trump making clear that he wants to put the United States military on our streets in cities across this country, blue cities in blue states. And by the way, some of the most violent cities on this, according to the FBI stats are red cities in red states. But Trump doesn't talk about sending troops to Memphis or Nashville, does he? Or St. Louis, does he? Man, St. Louis is one violent ass town, but no talk of sending troops to St. Louis. And a report came out, I think, last night about some secret, quick, ready force of troops that Hegseth, of course, a memo from Pete Hegseth leaked detailing this quick strike action force of military troops that Hegseth and Trump want to be able to deploy into American cities. Forget about all the lies, because this is based on a lie. But Trump's aim here is to use the American military against American citizens on American soil. That is anathema to America. That is unconstitutional. Thank you, Keith. That is the stuff of dictators and tyrants and kings. And what Trump is doing here is kind of feeling it out. Los Angeles, a couple months ago, right? Send in the National Guard and troops into Los Angeles, and all they did was sit on their ass for about a month or so. Didn't do a damn thing. But again, Trump's trying to make a point. By the way, my former colleague, Adam Kinzinger, made a great point this morning. These members of the National Guard, man, they've got lives and jobs and families and bills to pay. So when Trump does dangerous performative shit like this and sends National Guard folk to cities in America, he is really fucking with our men and women in the National Guard. He's fucking with their lives. He's fucking with their checkbooks. Shame on him. He's fucking with their families. But Trump, as we know, doesn't give a damn about the military, doesn't give a damn about the troops. Look, as I segue into the second point I wanted to make this morning, you've heard me say this before. The greatest failure of this Trump era, and we've all been guilty of it. But the greatest failure of the Trump era is the failure of imagination. We have just not sufficiently imagined how low he'd go, how bad he'd get, how far he'd go to break the law, to act openly corrupt, to defy the Constitution. We've lacked sufficient imagination. It's what led to January 6th, right? None of us before January 6th could have imagined, not here, baby, not in the good old United States of America. We would never have a president lose an election and not accept the results. That could never, ever, ever happen here. Joe, you're talking crazy talk. If I'd have said that to you 20, 30 years ago, that an American president would lose an election and refuse to concede, could never, ever happen in America, baby. Could never happen here. We couldn't imagine prior to January 6th that in America, a candidate for president would lose an election and refuse to accept the result, would refuse to concede. We just never imagined that that could happen here. And then he committed crimes trying to overthrow that election. We just couldn't imagine an American president would do that. It's been this failure of imagination that's helped Trump thrive. Like an American president using America's military on our soil to go after, to shut up, to imprison, to rough up American citizens. Oh, Joe, that could never happen here in America, Joe. That's the kind of shit that happens in North Korea and Hungary and China and Russia, not here. Here we go again. Will the 2026 midterms happen? Oh, Joe, of course they're going to happen. Trump can't shut them down. Trump's not going to cause havoc. They're going to happen. The midterms are going to happen. Oh, Joe, Trump's not going to try to run again in 2028. It's against the Constitution. On and on it goes. This failure of imagination. My plea is always to imagine the worst and prepare for the worst. Donald Trump has said, and he's beginning to do it, that he wants to use the American military against American citizens on American soil. He's said it. He's threatened to do it. And he's begun to do it. So use your imagination and prepare for how bad it could get. We're well past the point. Like it's past the point where members of the military have to say no to this tyrant. We're there now. Members of law enforcement are going to have to say no to this president. Again, use your imagination. Trump orders members of the military to go against their oath to the Constitution. Trump orders members of law enforcement to defy their oath to the Constitution. Trump orders government officials to defy their oath to the Constitution. We're there now. You don't need to tell me it'll never happen, Joe. We're there now. And what we're going to see now is members of the military saying no to the tyrant, members of law enforcement saying no to the tyrant, government officials saying no. Their oath is to the rule of law. Their oath is to the Constitution, not some mad king. And if you're thinking that, if you're worried that members of the military and members of law enforcement, they're not going to say no to Trump. They voted for Trump. They're going to all do what Trump says. You may be right on a lot of that. Well, then it's up to us, right? If members of the military and members of law enforcement defy their oath to defend and protect the Constitution and the rule of law, and they carry out unconstitutional orders from this tyrant against the American people, and they commit violence against the American people and rough up the American people are going to have to rise up and fight back against Trump. It's going to be up to us to put a finger in the chest of the military and law enforcement and say, defend your oath, live according to your oath, defend the Constitution. I want you to understand how serious this place we find ourselves in right now is. Keith, can you play that quick video of me yesterday? You do realize that if an American president uses the American military on American citizens on American soil, he's declaring war on the American people. You understand that, right? And if Trump does that, if Trump uses the American military on American citizens, on American soil, the American people will fight back against him. We'll have no choice but to fight back against him. You understand that, right? I hope. And I want to be very clear that was me yesterday, an unshaven me yesterday. Man, I struggled to say what I said there. It made me uncomfortable. When an American president orders the American military to go after American citizens on American soil, that is a president declaring war against the people of the United States. And I hope everybody understands that. The ramifications of that are scary, but it's true. And I meant what I said there. When Trump does that, the American people will have no choice but to fight back. So much talk these last 7 months. What do we do, Joe? What do we do, Joe? How do we resist Trump, Joe? We protest, we rally, we talk to our neighbors, we vote, we get everybody energized and fired up. Away we go, we inform, we educate, all of that, all of that. But that ain't enough. We're well past that point. Like, I had a conversation with a media outlet in the UK yesterday. Fascism is not on its way to America. Fascism is here. Fascism is here. You can't protest or just vote your way out of fascism. Imagination, right? It's going to take more. The time for civil disobedience is here. We are all going to be in a position, if we choose, to non-violently defy the government, defy the law, and get arrested. Civil disobedience, it's one of the greatest rights, the most powerful rights we have as humans. But that may not be enough against a president who declares, against a tyrant who declares, against a fascist who declares war on the American people. We are going to have to fight back. I put that out there yesterday. Man, I even had a bunch of Democrats, a bunch of folks on the left saying, I'm going to get trained to shoot. I need a gun. And by the way, MAGA, where are all you big Second Amendment folks who were right there with me for years yelling about the threat of tyranny? Don't come after my guns, Joe. We can't let them come after our guns. Big government and tyranny and fascism, man, our guns, that's our last line of defense. Where are all those big Second Amendment folk right now when there's an actual tyrant in the White House? They're nowhere to be seen. And I say this as a very big Second Amendment guy. Shame on you all hypocrites. Guess you didn't mean it. All that shit you said about tyranny. And we gots to have our guns to protect us against tyranny. Look, I'm sorting my way through this as well. Understanding, right? We've never been here. The only point I'm making is we, the people, we are the last line of defense. There is a fascist in the White House. He's ordering the military and law enforcement and government officials to defy their oath to the Constitution It's going to be up to us to stand up to and demand the military and law enforcement and government officials do their job and follow their oath. We are going to have to get in their way and demand they follow the Constitution and not a mad king. That's going to be difficult, and we're going to have to fight back. We're going to have to say no to Trump. We are going to have to fight back against Trump and get in Trump's face and say no. I'm done. We're done bitching and moaning about Trump. You all ask me, what can we do? What can we do? Here's what I'm telling you we're going to do. You better, and we'll quantify this and get specific with this as we go through. But be ready to do things you never imagined you would have to do. We're here now. We're here now. Final thought. Become a Democrat. To every Republican and former Republican and conservative listening to me, join me. Become a Democrat. I don't give a damn right now if you think the party sucks. Their job approval's in the toilet. I don't give a damn right now if you think the Democrats are too far left, they don't fight enough, they're bad on the transgender issue or whatever issue. I'm sorry, we have two major political parties right now, and one party is full on fascist. You want to help save this democracy? It is your duty and obligation. This is what I felt. This is why I became a Democrat 2 months ago, to join the only other party in town to defeat the fascist party. Come on, Republicans, former Republicans, never Trumpers, principled conservatives, independents, right? Come on, put your money where your mouth is. This is hand-to-hand combat. Help the other political party defeat the fascist party. I disagree with most Democrats on a lot of issues. Doesn't matter right now. The only issue that matters is democracy and defending the rule of law. And man, you can do a lot more good. We all can do a lot more good. Imagine the signal it would send if a bunch of us, Republicans, former Republicans, conservatives, never Trumpers, and independents, became Democrats, formally became Democrats for now to defeat fascism. Former Republican Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan in Georgia joined the Democratic Party last week. Great to see. I've been a Democrat now for just over 2 months, and I work every day to try to get others to join me. It's too easy to sit in independent land and rip both parties. Right now, defending democracy is a hell of a lot more important than any public policy. And you can do that more easily. Democracy can more easily prevail if the Democratic Party is the biggest fucking tent we've ever seen. So I implore I'll make this pitch once or twice a week until I drop. For now, it's all about our house is burning down. Our house of democracy and the rule of law is burning down. You want to be useful. You want to put out the fire. Become a Democrat. Follow me. Join me. Formally become a Democrat. And let's expand the Democratic Party tent so that it can win in 26 and win in 28 and help defeat the Republican Party. My email, the social contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. If you're a Republican, a former Republican, a conservative, an independent, a never Trumper, and you're thinking about it and you want to talk about it, send me an email. I'll call you. We'll talk about it. You're a Republican or a former Republican, locally, nationally, whatever. Send me an email. Thanks, Keith. That's all one word. Send me an email. Give me your phone number. We'll talk about it. The social contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. It's going to take a big tent. Join the big tent. By the way, my Substack right there. Subscribe to my Substack. Be awesome. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a good Tuesday. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with